Hello guys, in a previous video we have understood that when two pods are defined in the same deployment object, how the communication happens, and it happens using the local host. In this video we want to understand when we define one pod into one deployment object. So there are two pods being created with the two deployment objects. So how the communication will happen, we'll try to understand. So this time I have created a two manifest file. One is the Iron Fist and the Red Hood. Iron Fist is using a pod for Iron Fist, and Red Hood is using a pod that is Red Hood, and also is both of them containing service objects. The Red Hood is running at the port 8080, and Iron Fist is going to run on the port 8081. Let me first deploy a service object and the deployment object for the both. So kubectl apply -f KTS Iron Fist, and I'll also start Red Hood. So kubectl get pods and then deployments and services. So all these things are started. I wanted to show you one important things when we create the deployment object. Let us see get kubectl get deployment. So here I have got a Iron Fist and Red Hood deployment object. Actually I need a pod ID, not the deployment ID. So with this one, and the command to print all the environment variable this particular pod is exposing is exec, then the pod ID of the Iron Fist, and then dash dash print env kubectl. Okay, so here I can see all the environment variable this particular pod is exposing. So here if you look at it, here a Iron Fist, and it has got a Red Hood service pod that it is exposing. Also if you look further, if I have got Red Hood pod TCP Red Hood pod service pod TCP address, then further down I should be able to also get a Red Hood service IP as well. So here is Iron Fist service host, right? So I am getting a service host ID of the Iron Fist, and if I restart this pod, then I will get a new ID, right? We have discussed that whenever we are removing the pod and when we are restarting the pod, we get a new ID, but the environment variable, this Iron Fist service host, that is resembling here Iron Fist service. This is Iron Fist service, and then at the end service host. This is how it creates the environment variable, and this environment variable will always host a new IP address that is been given to that particular pod. Similarly, if I try to check for Red Hood, let me try to check for the Red Hood. I have got a Red Hood address IP, the ID, and then I will try to print that. And again, let me try to see that in the Red Hood also I should be able to see a service name for the Red Hood. So here if you look at it, Red Hood service port that I can see, and then similarly what is the name of this particular Red Hood service. Let me try to search. Then Control F. No, I can't. Red Hood service IP address of this one. Let me try to search Red Hood. Yeah, here. If you look at it, Red Hood service host. So Red Hood service is also exposing the port with the environment variable. So we can use this environment variable to connect to the service. So this is exactly what I have done when I am using the environment variable in both of the service. In the Iron Fist manifest file, the URL that is of the Red Hood, what I have done, Red Hood service port, and what it will do is it will fetch the IP address of that particular pod and it will add it over here. So the way we use it is dollar curly bracket and the name of the environment variable. These we can use, and then whatever the URI we are using for that particular service. And now if I go back into the Red Hood also, I will be using a similar environment variable Iron Fist service host, and that is what we have seen that, right? Our Iron Fist service host, that should be somewhere here. Yeah, this one. I am using the same environment variable here. So now every time, even if I restart the pod, I will be getting the latest IP address and it will be using the same IP address in the application, and it will try to connect with that IP address. So my both pods are running, and let me try to hit the API. So I am calling the Iron Fist calling buddy, and I am able to get the string Red Hood. Similarly, I am trying to call a API calling buddy of the Red Hood, and I should be able to get the Iron Fist. So this is how we make the communication between different pods when both the pods are in a separate deployment object. So this is how we can use the environment variable to make the communication smooth when both the pods are in the separate deployment object. There is one more way we can make the communication happen, and that is using the service name. So I have got a two service name, right? One is Iron Fist having the service which has the service name as Iron Fist service, and the Red Hood having the service as a Red Hood service. So I can use this service name as well for making the communication to happen. For example, here, let me copy this. Let me, instead of just removing it, let me just copy this and try to use again. So here, instead of the environment variable, I am using the service name. Okay. So here, I'll directly use the service name, and I'll try to save it. Similarly, I'll use the service name here as well. Let me just copy it here. And what is the service name in the Red Hood is of the Iron Fist. So I just use the service name here, and let me start again. kubectl deploy apply -f kts Iron Fist kubectl, and again kubectl Red Hood, and let me see, kubectl get pods. I have another one pod is starting, and both pod have been started. Services, and I also have the both services up and running. So what I have done is, in the Red Hood I have used the service name as a Iron Fist, the same one as given here, right? And in the Iron Fist, I am giving the service name as a Red Hood. So using the service name also, you can make the communication happen. So let us go back again into the Postman and see if we are able to make the communication happen. So yes, I am able to make the communication from the Iron Fist to the Red Hood. And similarly, I am also able to make the communication from the Red Hood to Iron Fist. So we have seen that we can make the communication happen a different way using the environment variable, using the service name as well. And when both the pods are defined into the same deployment object, then we can make the communication happen using the local host. So we have seen a different way to make the communication happen when pods are defined into same deployment object or the different deployment object. So I hope I am able to make the concepts crystal clear to you. And thank you very much for watching this video.